City Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Avila Vasquez. Commissioner Caldwell.
Here.
Commissioner Harriet.
Here.
Commissioner McColl.
Here.
Commissioner Shimkus.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Here.
Mayor Villa.
Here. If we can please stand for the pledge, and I'll ask Commissioner McCool to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time, we're going to start with the workshop to review proposed annual budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, and I'm going to ask Mr. Doherty to please lead us off.
Thank you, Mayor.
Did I say that right?
Yes, correct. Just want to take a moment just to say this is really the beginning for the commissioners. Certainly not midpoint or the end when it comes to the budget. So the next couple of nights, few nights, we'll see if we need Thursday or not, if we can do it over the next three. Just an overview from each of the departments as a presentation, and I'd like in the next week or two to meet with each of the commissioners and the departments that you may want to meet with. You may want to meet with all the departments or just a few of some special concerns that you have, so that over the next month or so we really massage the budget into something that the whole commission can really appreciate for our community for the future. So tonight's really just the beginning for moving forward. So Julie is going to take it from there.
Ms. Julia Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here today. We will be presenting the fiscal year 24.
Ms. Johnson, can you lower it just a little bit? It's really hard to hear you. Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. We will be presenting the fiscal year 24-25 proposed budget, which represents not just numbers on a spreadsheet, but the financial roadmap for the city's goals. As we navigate through each department's presentation, you will see how every dollar is strategically allocated to support the city's mission. You have been provided a copy of each presentation along with the department's line item budget. We will have a discussion period after each presentation for any questions or directives you may have. So up first, I'll give a quick overview of the citywide proposed budget, including an overview of the general fund proposed budget. Then each department director will then present their individual budgets following the schedule provided in your packet. All right, property tax value. This chart displays the estimated taxable value provided by the county on June 1st. The county's official preliminary taxable value will be certified to us by July 1st. This valuation will be the taxable value we base the final budget revenue projections on. New construction value. The new construction value has decreased from last year. This information is provided to us by Volusia County Property Appraiser. The amount is influenced by numerous factors such as market conditions, interest rates, labor and materials cost. As indicated, this number can change dramatically from year to year, but is much higher than it was just 5 years ago. This slide represents the decrease in millage rates over this last several years. For the sake of compiling this year's proposed budget, we have temporarily established an annual millage rate at 7.0 mills. As evident in the chart, after years of staying flat, staff is again requesting to lower the millage rate. In this chart shows the average property tax by parcel. It is calculated by taking the tax value and dividing it by the number of parcels that were provided to us by Volusia County Property Appraiser. As shown, there is a slight increase each year. With this year, it's almost similar to the CPI index of 5.5%. This chart shows the percentage of parcels that would pay taxes within the listed ranges. The Commission has requested this information in the past. As you can see, With the lower millage rate, approximately 9% of parcels pay zero taxes, and 34% of parcels will pay less than $500 per year. Okay. This is the general fund proposed budget. This table represents the general fund proposed budget. I'll highlight a few of the variances from the original 24 budget to the proposed 25 budget, as shown in the last column. So for the taxes, the difference of $3,445,000 is the increase in the property taxes and the service taxes. Under other sources and revenue, that's the transfer from other funds into general fund for administrative services. Under the expenses on personnel, that increase, that variance is the average annual increase we used 4%, and also the additional personnel that's been requested. Under the operating, that increase is pertaining to one-time expenses that will be detailed in the department's budget. They'll have more information on those. And the transfer has decreased because within this proposed budget, we are not projecting to transfer any funds to stormwater, solid waste, or transportation. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Looks like one of the slides is not working. Yeah, operating again increases the one-time expenses, and the capital outlay is basically the $4 million from the general fund that we just saw, and the Deltona water and stormwater projects and equipment. Okay. All right, all the departments have submitted requests for personnel. We have, each department, when they give their departmental budget overviews, they will go into detail about the positions they're requesting. But as you can see, we have 8 new full-time positions and 2 part-time positions that are being requested. We've got reclassification. Reclassification of 9 from various departments, and then 2 pay grade changes. Listed here are the requested amounts for each department's capital projects and equipment. During their presentations, more details will be provided on the different items listed there. And unless you have any questions for me about the overview, we can start with each department.
Commissioner McCool, do you have a question over the overview?
735 and 70. Okay, if I could understand in terms of dollars what that is.
Okay.
And my goal here in looking at this also, the taxes paid by range, I would like to understand what full taxable value dollar amount would be in those different categories, if you can get that for me. So say that they were paying 100% taxable value. My goal is to understand the revenue that is at a deficit based on the amount of exemptions or allocations, right, or allowances, just so that we can have that for a reference point, if that's possible to do that.
Okay. We will get that for you.
Okay, and then the last question, Julia, on the overview is, can we add the dollar amounts associated with the request on the personnel request? So I would like to understand what the dollar amount is that we're talking about for each of those.
Okay.
And just a general question on the 2025 citywide capital request by fund. Do we have a line item on that specific request? I see that it says information technology wants $992,000, but what do they want it for? So is that on their budget? I mean, I'm just asking you off the cuff if it's in their budget line item.
Yes, ma'am, it
Okay,
is.
that's
They'll
fine.
explain that.
I've got both books, but it's just, thank you, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Just an easy one for you. On here, it says this is basically just a brief overview of the millage rate down to 7.0. What's going to be the difference if we did a full rollback to 7.0? Can you let me know sooner what the money difference is if we did a full rollback to compare it to 7.0? That's all. Thanks.
Okay.
Commissioner Harriet.
Julia, why, is there a reason why we're presenting the proposed millage rate at 7 mils? Did that come, how did we get to that rate?
We felt comfortable with that amount. We are not trying to, go above.
Does that include capital coming into account, deferred maintenance, needing new stations? Does that include any of that kind of stuff, or only if it's been on a previous plan?
Previous plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, Julia, and I think that we have like a reference page from somewhere before, because Mr. Peters, at one time in our budget 2 years ago, it was broken out to what the capital needs were, and then it was broken down by what happened if we did the millage rate at this, and it showed a deficit, an ascending deficit, based on that. Do we have that captured somewhere that you can just kind of update that? Do you know?
I will look
There was a
into it.
spreadsheet that he did, you know what I mean?
I will look into it.
Okay, because that's what I want to see, that information also. Thank you, Julia.
Commissioner Harriet.
And I'd also, just to kind of build on that, if we could see a spreadsheet on the anticipated revenue for a range of millage from rollback all the way up to where we were last year, I would appreciate seeing that also.
Okay.
And that should include the increase in home values as well as the new construction that's coming on the tax roll.
Yes, and July 1st, we'll have the certified numbers to us. So,
That'll include the possibility of a full rollback, right? As some are alluding to up here.
Yeah, from full rollback, what that rate would look like, what the 7 mils looks like, what 7.35 looks like,
Okay. All right, Commissioner McCool, and then we're going to move on.
Mr. Mayor, Julia, would that include, when we're talking about going to full rollback, right, and we're talking about including all of these things, we were talking about unfinished, and Mr. City Manager, I'm asking this too, we have projects that we missed out on, and stormwater projects, right? So when we're talking about doing this analysis, moving forward budget, I want to understand this formula, keeping in mind all of the stuff that we need to do, the money that we're deficit in stormwater. I understand our enterprise funds, I get that. But there are things that we need to do, capital improvements that we've had to kick down the road because we've had to do this. So I want to, again, reiterate and make sure all of that is included so that we are in a good position, keeping in mind reserves, keeping in mind that we're going to have to do matching funds for projects coming up because we've not had to do that. So I just want that information. I think that you know what we're talking about.
I think so.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
And I agree with what everybody's saying, but also, don't we have an account with unencumbered funds in it? What's the balance of that account, you know?
I can get that to you.
Is it over $30 million? Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and start with the different departments. So we'll start with the City Commission.
All right, Mayor and Commissioner, I'll just go over the next two, which are usually the least exciting of all the departments. Overview, of course, the citizens of Deltona at the top of your org chart. City Commission and working its way down to the 2 constitutional officers and boards and committees. So the budget itself, highlighting there. So you've got a couple minor changes across is the personnel, which is at this point an increase in salary and benefits of staff that are directly involved with the commission. The operating increase, a lot of that has to do with the Deltona scholarship increase, I believe, that the commission has invested into. And then allocations increase in IT costs, which are spread across all budgets throughout the city. The assumption that all departments benefit from IT, including the city commission. And so that's where the increased allocations is for the commission's budget. Other than that, it's pretty flat across the board. Any questions on the commission? All right.
See no questions. Go ahead and move to city manager.
Yep.
Go ahead, Commissioner. You good?
Okay. All right, so for City Commission, we have on the screen there for you, and the pages there just went right to goals, PIO. So Communications Department, a couple of things. They're looking at renovating, complete the renovation of Deltona TV studio, producing original studio production content for Deltona TV, and developing a text message alert system. We had a meeting about that this morning. I called some of my colleagues up north to see their system compared to what systems we're looking at here. So we have that text alert system in place. But one of the things I wanted to point out on our goal list there was the upgrading of audio in this commission chamber and upgrading of lighting. That's something that we're going to do probably in unison with overall maybe an upgrade to this entire chamber, as I believe I talked to each of you at some point, to be a little more friendly towards a business meeting, and we'll come back to you with that plan overall. So the budget, or the employees, we still have a few openings that we're looking to fill, and it currently says 2 deputies. That would be 1 at best, but we'll make that change as we go, and a few other positions that we're still looking to fill to find the right people. The budget overall. Changes personnel is more of your regular cost of living increases across the board. Healthcare included for the employees that are under this division, which includes the communications department. The operating, half of that, or a little more than half, is actually for the communications downstairs. That's upgrades to the website hosting system, internet circuits for streaming, which we're going to be doing more of, as was on the goal list, and antivirus software and maintenance downstairs in our communications division. And of course, allocations is same as I said earlier, is the increase IT allocates across all the different budgets. And the rest of it, again, is flat, pretty much as the commission budget goes.
We have Vice Mayor Jody Lee, then Commissioner McCool.
So all the IT stuff is in yours. So whose budget is the
City manager, could you answer this or have it answered at quiet? The IT 2025 proposed is up to $158,200. It's a 34.1% increase. Could you just speak to, is that operational or equipment, sir? Or can anyone answer that, like the 34% increase?
34%. Oh, that's the allocation?
Yes.
That's the IT allocation across the board. I don't know, if Robert, if you want to speak when you get up to your turn to speak about it, not necessarily right now, but is that something we're able to talk about?
All right, that's on my radar. Thank
How it's
you.
split out, yes, correct.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Harriet?
Is that allocation across the board, or is that just for this cost center? Because it looks like it's just for this cost center according to our line item detail. I would also ask, do we know what cost savings we have in personnel from not having 2 deputy city managers and a fully staffed? So what kind of cost savings are we looking at from this current year?
We don't have that broken out yet for you, Commissioner, but
Okay.
we call it salary slippage. That yes, we
Yep.
should be in very good shape at this point. Unfortunately, in very good shape with the salary slippage because the positions have not been filled.
I couldn't agree with
I
you
can
more.
get that back to you, though. That's a good point.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to city clerk. And
It doesn't matter.
Mr. Doherty, if you can, when you're going through the slides are completely off from our books. Just let us know what page you guys are on. Please.
Yes, we removed out of all the slides the agenda. And
Just in the city manager and commission budget, we took out all the extra slides because it was really just to get to the budget area, where I think the others, we just removed the slide that was just the agenda.
Okay.
Because there's no use in repeating that over and over, but the others should be the same. Thank you.
Good evening, Joyce Raftery, City Clerk Department. Where's the,
I just clicked
you
on
doing
it.
from up here? So my department goals are the agenda management software and minutes. We do public records, we do all the legal fees and display advertisements, We oversee all the elections, process and maintain all the ordinances and resolutions, record storage, retention, and destruction as well. The department's mission statement is all in your books. I'm not going to read it. The 23-24 accomplishments, we continue on an ongoing basis. So my accomplishments and basically my goals are pretty much the same. Doing the primary and the general elections, overseeing that process alongside with the supervisor of elections. We have automated the public records software that the commission approved, and we had a demo in front of you probably 2 years ago. We implemented a succession plan, so all of my staff is basically trained on everybody else's job position in case anybody's out, so we're all covered. We also follow a checks and balance for advertising to make sure that the advertisements are correct, to make sure that they've been proofed so that we're not paying any additional or extra costs because of advertising something because of a mistake. Also, we continue to try and get out the timely agendas on the Wednesday as best we can. The new thing that I'd like to do as far as my goals for the 24-25 would be to try and implement some kind of an electronic annual training on public records, records retention, things like that, and try and do that through Teams. I know there's another department that has done that over this last year, and so I want to implement that and try and get everybody, in a department to be used to those things and have a go-to person for each department. As far as my staff, we have 2 positions open. We have an administrative assistant, 2, and then we have a support services administrator. That person is, for the most part, probably 80% of their job is going to be doing public records. Right now, I have every single one of us in my department doing public records. And then the overview of the budget. My budget does not change too much. Every year, it's pretty much the same thing. I'm not asking for any software, no additional personnel.
Are you still understaffed?
I still have the 2 vacancies. I'm holding steady right now. I'm still at a deficit from 2008. I've never recovered from that, but I have staff now that's pretty well trained. That
I got another question, and then I'll go to you, Vice Mayor. And then Commissioner Shimkus. Do you think a part of this you could get with maybe Lisa Lewis about updating some of our?
that should be.
Is it that one or is it the one at the bottom? Is it an IT cost or is it in the special one that says?
No, it's not in an IT cost. I don't think they changed it yet. I think.
Is it the record management one for 2,500?
Where are you at? Civic Plus. So it is in. Nope, that's not it either. Did we move it out?
Software.
Because I think it was in other, and then we moved it. So we have it here. Yeah, it's in software and network maintenance.
So it's part of the 68,000? Mm-hmm. Do we know just?
That's got the, looks like it's got the agenda management software in it. It's got the public record software in it.
Do we have just an idea of how much of that is the public records portion? If it's a 20%, 50%?
Looks 25,000.
Okay. So the reason I ask is I'm curious, how far along are we, or are we looking at doing auto redaction as part of that so that you can have
do it.
less requirement of people doing a lot of this work and have much of our records be automatically redacted so they're available faster online? And also as part of that, I think I've looked specifically more, and many of the requests on our portal are for things like permits and those things. I feel like I've seen in many other places where those are fully automated, and I'm wondering, are we on a track to get to the point where things like that don't require any people time at all?
There are permits already on that portal. I don't know that a lot of people even know that that portal exists, I'll be honest with you, and that's why they come to us and they ask us for it. It's not been publicized enough. Sometimes I'll go on that portal just to get the permit. The issue with the permit, the only thing that's redacted is if they pay for it by credit card, the credit card number's on there and it has to be redacted. We already have included in this software, which is part of the reason why we got it, an automatic redaction system. The issue with it is we found that it redacts a whole bunch of stuff that we don't want it to redact. Because if you put a series of numbers in there, like your social security numbers, with the 3, the 2, and the 3, it will take every number with that scenario off, even though it's not a social. So it's easier for us, and I'm going to tell you, the redaction software is much, much more simpler. We just kind of got to run through it. So even if we had it automatic and we just let it run, we're going to sit there and we're going to look through it anyway because it has to be right. I'm not going to let it go out wrong. Automatically letting it do it, because I've talked to other clerks, doesn't always necessarily mean that it's automatically going to do it.
Okay, I mean, I just look at other places, and it does happen. You click a button, and it comes out to you without having to go through a department. So if there's a possibility to reduce the number of man-hours required for all these, because I know, like you said, everyone in your department does records requests, because I understand that we have an unusually high volume of this. So I would just like to make sure we're looking at any possible way to reduce that cost in man-hours specifically. And then, as you mentioned, the permitting requests, that sounds like an education issue. So can we maybe have a goal of, on the records request portal that they're using to put that in, or when someone calls in, can we produce some level of a little YouTube video thing that says, hey, are you looking for a roofing permit? You can get it in 3 clicks by going over here, instead of requiring the department to go through that whole process for them. I would just like to see that we take that a little more to them so we can reduce, again, some of that work.
I'll look at some kind of educational prop. I know sometimes, like, we can't tell them, hey, go here. You can find it yourself. We can't do that by law. I mean, if they...
Well, not if they ask, right, but if we say, hey, next time you need one, I just think if we should put that out there a little more, so we're, yeah, thanks.
Commissioner Harriet and then Commissioner McCool.
To Troy's point, the only thing that I really want to add is just to make sure that when we're looking at records retention software packages, we look holistically, in whatever solution we find for one department, we make sure that it's compatible for the entire city as a whole. And that initially goes for this, but that goes for all IT requests. I think that we need to work on streamlining processes and across the departments, and make sure that it's not different software pieces depending on which department we're looking at. So.
Commissioner McCool.
Joyce, could you just tell me, like, just pointedly, what is it? Is it personnel, training, money, or what is it, the software? What is it that you need to get you where we need to go, like, with this? I know that you say education, but this is the time to tell the commission what it is you need to be able to run your department with success, and so that we can, like Mr. Shimka says, free up the staff time, give the public some autonomy, and looking, what is it that you need?
The public record software that we implemented, like I said, I believe it was 2 years ago, has immensely helped the department. It really has, because everything is more automated. They can get it online. We're not printing it. We're not, getting checks and things like that. They can pay for it online. Everybody can see what everybody else sees, so they're all out there. You do still get those duplicate requests and things like that. Public records isn't the issue like I've had in the past. It's just not. It's reasonable time frame to get the request out. We don't jump on any of them. It's reasonable time. We enter it, we give you an estimate, you decide whether you're going to pay the estimate, and then we go back to the departments and gather the documentation. Because of the amount of public records, and again, a lot of it is permitting, a lot of it's permitting, we need that one person so that it does free up the rest of my staff to do other things.
Is that person requested in this
That's-
year's budget?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That was requested in a previous budget, but it didn't get put in the budget, so it looks like
Okay,
it's
well,
a
I would
new
just like for that to happen.
person, so.
You still have a percentage of frivolous, and I say that with 100% certainty, public records requests designed, verbally, been told, this is to stop the government. Truly, we have those. Do you still have that occurring with the portal?
We do, not as much as we did before,
Okay.
but
All right.
we still definitely have.
Just so the public is aware, there are true needs to be met in public records requests, but there is also people out there that request them with the intention of clogging up the system. So just y'all know that when we're talking about PRRs. It's been said to me, we're going to shut you down with public records requests. So know that it's happening, and I just want to put that out there for you, that you're contending with that. But I want to be the advocate also, like Mr. Shimkus says, of getting you what you need so that we can move human capital somewhere else. Thank you,
That's
Mr.
why I
Mayor.
say it's reasonable timeframe. So like if we have to get an agenda out and it's all hands on deck to get this agenda out, those requests are going to sit until we get that agenda out, you know what I mean? But because we have everybody working on it, there's usually like literally no lag time. We get them done fairly quickly. And the
Commissioner
departments are very, responsive.
Harriet?
I just want to reiterate that if there is something that you need to help with public records requests, you've done a phenomenal job with them, and your department is very quick to respond to them. But I think it's imperative that up here we support any of the requests that will expedite or otherwise impact in a positive way records
Education
requests.
and filling that position, most
Yeah.
likely.
Thank you very much, Joyce.
This time, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to finance.
Trying to help you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. For the Finance Department, our 23-24 accomplishments: maintained a balanced budget and appropriate reserves. We received the GFOA awards for the budget and the annual comprehensive financial report. We've updated some financial policies and procedures. We've started inventory tracking from manual to automated. That's in the works right now. And improve our accounts payable process by implementing an optional ACH payment method for vendors. Our goals going forward is to maintain a balanced budget and appropriate reserves, improve the budget process by implementing a personnel projections module and an automated budget transferred workflow. Every year, we strive to receive the GFOA awards for budget and the ACFR, and we are constantly monitoring our policies and procedures. Our only vacancy at this time is the finance director. The overview, the variances, the 52.9 is the basic 4% average that we were requesting. The 89.5 is annual software expense. We have some new softwares. And then our capital request actually is for citywide. It just comes through us because purchasing department keeps track of all the replacements, is the copiers and printers.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee, then Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for putting the printers in there. I know I got pretty much beat up by all the Facebook lawyers who were saying I didn't want to buy printers for this, voted on it, and it's never happened. So I'm just kind of curious, how much would your department save if you didn't have to worry about payroll?
I'll have to get back with you on that number.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCool and Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you very much. Juliet, question, and maybe, I don't know, are we working at current on the vacancy for finance director? Or is that active? Yes, Ms. Flores is, okay, thank you very much. Number 2, we had can you just tell me, professional services went up. Is that a change in operations or something, 59.4%? I mean, it's $6,000, but I'm just saying what, you know what I mean? A process or something?
Professional services?
Yeah.
Yes, we have consulting fees for our ACFR software.
Okay, got you. And then the auditing services, do we use the same auditor? Because it's gone up 25%, so I'm just trying to figure out that.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
We had a change in auditing services?
No, it's the same auditor.
But they went up by
Yes.
25%.
Are those escalations in accordance with their contract?
Yes.
Wait, I need to understand that. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No. Let Commissioner McCool
No, that's,
finish.
I'm done. If you
Okay,
want to
go ahead.
continue, because you're obviously in
You're up next
finance, but I'm
anyways.
just like 25% for an auditing service is a lot for that to have gone up like that.
Yeah, I have the same question as why is the cost of our internal or external auditors going up so much? And if it is in our contract, why did we execute a contract that had such a huge escalation in it?
They actually have engagement letters, not necessarily a specific contract. I have that engagement letter coming to you. It comes to you guys every year. And I can get further details for that.
Yeah, I'd like to understand how we procured that contractor, that auditing firm.
Okay.
And if we are still under obligation to use them, or if we can put that back out on the street for bid. And then I've also got a question on the system and network maintenance that went up by 70%, more than doubled from 72,700 to 123. And I can't really see the detail. You guys have done a phenomenal job providing detail, but I can't really see where that detail, which line item increased for that object account.
I believe the biggest increase is for the annual timekeeping subscription. That is estimated for a software we will possibly be getting for the time and attendance. That is not in place yet.
That would be 30,000.
Yes.
The increase is over 72.
And then the OpenGov budget software, I believe this, Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is the first year we have the annual.
OpenGov ebook?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys use that to put this presentation together?
Yes. Some of it is Munis, our
Yeah.
current financial software.
That's not a gotcha question. That's just is it working? Are we using it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
2 questions to follow up on, Commissioner Harriet. If we were to go to a payroll system, would that payroll system not kind of take over that? For example, if we were to use Paychex, I'm just throwing names out there, ADP, they would take into account people clocking in and out, attendance. They would take over that,
Yes.
essentially, that overhead.
Yes.
So that would be a savings there in itself, right?
It would be with that 30. We don't know what outsourcing the full payroll would cost.
Okay.
What we were looking at was a time and attendance software.
Got it.
Where we'd keep, it would be electronic timekeeping, but we would keep payroll in-house.
Is the issue that you guys are kind of encountering with possibly going to a payroll company that per se, I think I heard or I had spoken at some point with Ms. Leeson that the firefighters are paid a specific way and city employees are paid a different way, and that kind of, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Is that part of the pushback or the issue you guys are having?
No, sir. We are not looking to have the fire department go on this. This would only be
For city employees?
for city employees.
So you essentially would still need to do payroll, at least for the fire department?
Correct.
Okay. Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
Mayor, if you
Sure.
mind, let me just throw in a little bit also. It's and to the Vice Mayor's point earlier, it's not necessarily a savings in staff of getting, you still have to have somebody actually putting the information in, overseeing, like Minority Report, the movie, great movie, looking at making sure things are processing. They're also in charge of FMLA and some other things to make sure processes go. I believe the Vice Mayor's, to answer some of your question, is there a savings in a misinformation being put accidentally on payroll cards as opposed to the computer system? That could be a very large saving. That could be a large savings of mistakes. That's where we would be probably seeing a savings, or at least if not a savings, we know everything is clear and clean because there's more of a backup process than just handwritten letters. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee?
Thank you, Mayor. And you're right, I was going to hit on that, because if a payroll company did time and attendance and payroll, that would eliminate a lot of that money, because we wouldn't have to worry about it. So it wouldn't be a cost to us. The last thing we got, I think it was like $80,000 a year for an outside company to do time attendance and payroll, which includes like the geo-fencing for employees where they can't log in on their couch and stuff like that. So if that's $80,000 a year, and the mistakes in payroll, as you put it, are over $500,000 a year, and then we don't have to pay this money that's in the budget, that saves us a lot of money. That's why I said when we made this before, we got consensus to put it out for payroll, time and attendance, and payroll. Not the way it was put out. It was put out to split up where we'd still have to pay 2 or 3 different contractors, which is, to me, is insane. If you can give it to one person, let them handle it, that way there's only one person accountable. It's like different contracts we did, like the Lakeshore. You put out to different people, you can't hold nobody accountable. If you did payroll with one company for time and attendance and payroll, one person's accountable, one person for a bill, we're paying one person, problems are easy to figure out who's at fault. But that would save us a lot of money that's in this budget if we had someone else do our payroll. Plus, it'd free up your staff to just concentrate on finance and not payroll. Thank you.
Commissioner Harriet?
I agree with what you said in terms of liability. Splitting it up isn't necessarily the best thing, but we didn't have Doc here when that was done. So I would just encourage us to trust the city manager, trust his decisions, and look at this holistically. And we take a step out of the operations and allow Doc to lead the operations and do what's best for the city.
We voted on it.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move over to information technology. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Good evening. All right, start off with the IT budget. This is just an overview of what our department is responsible for and the number of accounts that we currently have, the number of type of equipment we have, the storage, it's the amount of applications that we're currently supporting.
Robert, excuse me, can we get him a microphone? Can we put one of the handheld microphones up there? Because everybody keeps turning to look at the slide.
Yeah, and it's making it difficult to listen.
Yeah. If we could do that.
That's getting IT Pearson.
Sorry to interrupt you, Robert. You're not the only one that's done it.
All right. So as I was saying, this is an overview of our software, support with the renewals and procurement of the software, as well as track it for financial reasons. Here is our budget overview. I know some of these numbers have actually gone down a lot as we negotiated and cut some accounts, so these numbers aren't exactly, they're actually a lot lower than what these are, so the allocations across the board are actually going to be a lot lower as well. Some of our biggest increases are going to be in communication and software right now. Plus, it was an increase with that new position for personnel.
some of our accomplishments for the year have been providing us maybe a grant to provide fiber to Dwight Hawkins as well as Harris Saxon. This will allow us to get our camera systems there at a latest and greatest systems and also get them up real time so we can work with VSO and give them the footage they need. We're going to continue to, we've actually updated and migrated, we're in the process of migrating our phone system to the cloud phone system that you guys approved a little while back. And as we do more, so we've replaced cameras in one park currently with the new system, and we are working to, with cybersecurity grant for the state of Florida. They just awarded us a renewal for last year for some of the money, and we're hoping to get more products next year, but we won't know until October for that. So the key goals are again, is we're working towards our CSF framework to be compliant fully. This is something the state requires us to do, and we're going to still work on trying to expand our city metro fiber network and hopefully wrap up our communications platform updates so we have all our phones on the latest and greatest. We are working with parks on upgrading their camera system next year. That's going to be replacing I think that's a budget line item for $400,000 to replace all the cameras in City Hall and in parks. So our vision and goals for the department is around fiber. So we're going to continue to expand our fiber network, reduce our telecom expenses. We're trying to find out how we can use the cloud more. We've actually expanded our cloud usage with Microsoft as well as with Laserfish. And with the cloud services, as we adopt more, we're going to reducing our capex costs. So we're reducing our capital expenditures, but that does come with smaller increases in operating expenditures. So here's some of our key performance metrics that we use in the budget currently. So the capital requests we have, the previous slides showed $900,000. That actually went down once you guys approved the phone system upgrade. So we actually have $678,000 in capital request. We have a UPS replacement we have to do this year for $40,000, and the largest bulk product that we're going to be doing is the IP cameras for City Hall. For City Hall and the parks, it's going to be at $400,000, as well as improvements to our access control door readers, and computer replacements at $82,000.
Robert, before I go to Commissioner McCool and the other commissioners, just to clarify, that big increase is due to the law enforcement request for the upgrades to the...
Bring that up is to make sure and ensure the public that we're getting the IT that they're paying for. So has that issue been taken care of?
Yes, we could be adding another circuit for the TV station. That's been implemented, and actually YouTube should have been converted over, and that should be streaming as we speak, yeah.
Okay. Cloud servers, is that not like an automatic let's go for that? I mean, what do we?
Yeah, that is actually something we are pushing forward as much as we can. It increases our redundancy, increases our ability to be resilient in hurricanes and emergencies. So we are working with the state clerk right now to migrate our Laserfish to the cloud. Mm-hmm. Some systems, like the Commissioner spoke about Munis, which is a big endeavor to actually move to the cloud, that they're not mandating it yet, but it is coming up. They haven't announced it yet, but they are no longer developing our current product platform. Mm-hmm. So we do have to think about moving to the cloud. It's going to be a full city project that we need every department involved with.
Yeah. That would be amazing if we could be proactive, yes. You know what I mean? So thank you. Now I want to just ask about this. I'm going to finish up because I talked to the sheriff this morning regarding this, about being online with the sheriff's office. Do we currently have some, do we not have a couple of our cameras that are already they can be accessed by the sheriff's department?
So they can be. I'm trying to reach the sheriff's office right now to actually integrate them. Yep. But they're available, they're ready, and they look amazing. So I think they're gonna like the product line. They've recommended the product line to us as well. So It's ready for them.
Okay. And in this budget, right, and in the process I want to make sure and reiterate that we have cameras in all of the parks. Yes. As part of this, the allocation, I mean, that doesn't fall on the responsibility, like, does it eat up the park's budget, is what I'm saying? Because I'm confused, as cameras in the park aren't like equipment. That's security measures, right, that should be IT and not any part of the park's operating capital. Am I mistaken in assuming that?
I think it depends on how you want to, where you want to put in the budget, really. It's up to you. It becomes a cloud purchase. The cameras are meant for 10 years when we purchase them, and they're giving us a 3-year contract with them. So we're not going to see a cost until 3 years from then.
Well, my thing is
that'll probably be in the building cost, in the building maintenance, if anything. But it depends on what you want, really.
But whatever, here's the thing, I don't want it in the parks budget because it's part of our overall security system, and I don't think that they should have money allocated out of their budget for security for the whole of the community, right?
It's not
I
right
think
now,
that
I
it
know
needs
that.
to be forward-facing so that when we're talking about security and IT, that we have a full grasp on what that budget is. Same with our fire stations, same with whomever. If we have an IT budget, I want to understand what our IT budget is, right, outside the realms of that. That goes for cameras or whatever. That is security and should fall under maintenance, something like that, other than where they're actually located. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's currently under the IT. The capital item is under IT, so we are planning for the procurement ourselves.
Okay, and I'm just adamant too about those cameras being sharp for the parks, because in this many months, we had shootings in parks, we had holdups in parks, and I want to be able to know what color eyes somebody has when we are trying to, the sheriffs are trying to find these, so I'm just putting that out for public consumption. Thank you, Robert.
I'm going to go to Vice Mayor Jody Lee, then Commissioner Harriet, then Commissioner Shimkus.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, sir. And I'm just glad you're talking about this clouds. I know that thing hasn't made it, the Munis thing.
No, it's
but
not yet.
They're already warning that next
They
year.
are.
So I just want us to be ahead of it, because I don't want you, I would really hate for you to come up here 6 months from now and say, hey, we need 600,000 for Munis, when we could have headed off the past, or at least had it in the budget. And if it didn't need it, you don't need it. But it's coming. You know it's coming.
It's coming.
They've already sent letters and warned.
They haven't announced it yet in the
$600,000.
latest conference, so that's why again, we can budget for it. It's just going to be sitting there, but it is coming. We do know that.
Yeah, so I just want everybody to know that it's coming. I just don't want you to get caught later on coming back and saying, hey, I need a budget
No, I
amendment
don't
for
want that.
$600,000, because then we're going to hold you to the fire. Thanks.
Commissioner Harriet?
Hey, Robert, thank you for
Commissioner Harriet, then Commissioner Shimkus.
Thank you for your presentation today. Earlier in the presentation, it mentions that we have 6 ERP solutions. Is there a reason why we have 6 individual ERP solutions?
So they're enterprise applications that we use citywide. So there might be something smaller along the lines, but it all ties into Munis, and it ties into either Energov, Munis. There used to be other applications too. And the fire department uses quite a few of them as well. So in general, those are the different type of applications we use citywide that are kind of supported and procured through the city.
Are those applications also, are those duplicative services that are wrapped into Munis as well?
I don't believe so. We'd have to look into it. There's always some overlap. Just like if we were to procure a payroll software, there's some modules you have to keep in Munis in order to procure that payroll software. So there is some overlap like that.
I understand that. I just want to make sure that when we're spending the money on an ERP, that we're already paying for those different applications within that ERP, so that we're not, maintaining the systems on the side and whatnot. But
that's a good point. We added functionality for OpenGov, so there's a few departments now using more OpenGov software. They are an ERP vendor as well.
yeah,
We finally cut off support for our CRW issue track software. CRW tracking software. So that's one ERP software that we no longer need. We're no longer supporting.
I just want to keep that in mind when we're talking about budget finance also, because they do have OpenGov in their budget as well as Munis. And so if the city manager could look at the ERP solutions and the different applications around the city, and if we can consolidate as much as possible, I think that'll help us reduce the financial burden. Another question I have is on the capital request page. You have fiber initiative and road conduits.
Yes.
Does that have any impact on the actual road? Do they have to trench the road, or is this all done through direct boring?
So it's all done, most of it's done through boring, but it's in the right of way. So it's not, and it may go in the
Okay.
driveway. So we'll get complaints from residents about the driveways, but
We're not
usually
tearing up a road to
communicate
put, perfect.
No, sir.
I wanted to make sure that was the case. The access security door readers that you have in here for 30,000, are those new or replacements?
with them. Those are new. We're trying to see if we can get the doors outside to put readers on them and reduce the need for any of our keys. So that way reduce the security.
Phenomenal.
We'll just literally hand in our keys.
Absolutely.
One of the best things.
And then to Dana's request or your comments about the park security system, I think it's important that we don't count the cameras against parks budgets, but it is important to also understand that security is a requirement, really. Let's just put it that way. The residents deserve secure parks. So we need to make sure that when we talk about the operating cost of a park, we also include the replacement cost of cameras and the fiber upgrades to those parks, because that truly is a cost to operate each park. So as long as we're not, I just want to make sure we're not counting it against parks budgets. You know, I don't want to take budgets away from improving the parks or maintaining the parks, but I think it is important that we can look at each park holistically and identify how much is spent at each park on security measures. And then in here, it's $82,000 listed for computer replacements. Do we have a computer, like a lease with somebody, or do we own all of our computers?
We own all of our computers, so that we try to replace them within a cycle period of 5 years. So we kind of go within a certain number of computers. And I think it's in the budget how many we're going to replace this year.
Have we gone out and looked and just looked to see what the benefits, if there would be any, of a lease program would be?
We haven't. That'd be something we definitely would like to do.
Just an idea, just a thought. I know that it's common to do lease programs with fleet as well, so want to make sure that we're not losing money and we have the most up-to-date information, or the most up-to-date technology, excuse me. But other than that, Robert, thank you very much. You're doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shimkus?
Thanks. I'll probably echo a little bit of what Commissioner Harrod was asking, but I'll ask it slightly different. When it comes to the ERPs and all that stuff, do you have an idea how many redundant softwares are being used, whether they are redundant for necessity or redundant because we just didn't bother looking at some point, but are there a lot of redundant softwares in the city across the departments?
You know, there is some because of necessity. Like, for example, we have Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat, and we also have a software called Bluebeam. Those two softwares kind of do a very similar functionality, but they only one of them work with our ERP. So we're working towards moving away from one of them, but we have to work with the vendor to do that, and that may be a few years before we get to that point.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure we understand, like, if we're looking at redundant software reduction, we need to also look at the legacy needs for those things to make sure we're not, cutting it off too fast. Do we have ransomware protection? Has that been an issue in the city?
Yes, it's definitely an issue across the board. Everyone knows about ransomware, and they should know about it. We do have protection here. We actually go through a company that provides us a warranty for our cybersecurity. So, and we have it built into the endpoint protection as well as in the multiple layers that we have throughout the city.
You mentioned that there's been zero security, breaches. I'm just curious, do you know how many have been fended off or stopped by your security software?
There's tens of thousands of software breach attempts every single day, just people knocking on our firewall on the outside, as well as emails that we block and we filter through. And so one of the things we are working on is trying to give you guys a kind of a security update, and to show a dashboard of how much we block and give you kind of generic information, but at least information that you can review.
Yeah, I just wanted people to hear that tens of thousands a day are being attacked, and I think it's one of those things that people don't see, so it's a silent thing out there that people just don't know. So congratulations on not having any breaches in this industry. That's rather impressive.
Thank you.
Especially as we move more and more toward cloud. And speaking of cloud, or everyone's favorite buzzword of the day, when we look at moving toward a cloud solution, whether Munis is going to require it or not, are we also looking at alternatives to Munis?
I think we should, but it is a big endeavor to move away from a product like Munis. It is nothing that it is going to take every department's cooperation just to migrate to the cloud, as well as to look at other products. It takes years, some cities years, to move to another product line, and then they find that the company that you just moved away from bought that product line. So you're back in the same boat. So I think we should anyway. I think we should always look towards to see what else is out there. And we keep an eye and an ear to the ground to find out what our other cities are using, what our other municipalities are using, and kind of know what products are out there that support us.
Yeah, I'd like to have an idea of what other cities in the area specifically are using things other than Munis, and before we decide to spend any money on migrating to Munis, because there have been many requests and reports of issues with Munis specifically and Tyler Technology stuff. And
yes,
I understand in the industry where no software is perfect and everyone's going to have problems. And I would also just ask, are we kind of along the same lines of the redundant software? Are we paying for things that Tyler is offering that we're just not taking advantage of, that we should be reinvesting in some education of our departments to make sure that they're using the software as it's intended, so that we're not kind of fighting against the software? Has that been an issue with the city? Or
I think that's an issue across the board, because they add new features of functionality that cities now have to do. And Tyler does the business plan for planning with each department, and they offer it where we can look at the new functions and features, where you can find out how you can utilize this feature and better support your mission statement here. This is what but we do have functionality that we do need to see how we can utilize better.
And so I would just, Mr. City Manager, I would just offer on a suggestion, unsolicited suggestions is my favorite, an incentive program for employees to be the employee who understands the software and how it works, and to come back to the city and say, we've done it this way in our department for the last 10 years, but I just realized that Munis or some software has it this way, and if we make this change, we'll save time. So I think if there's an incentive program for employees to be the one that helps you identify what's better about the software in their department, that's just a little thing I've seen be very successful in some industries. I'm going to ask it here because I'm not really sure where else it would go, but do we have someone on staff who would be what we would call a data visualization expert to help us create in-house dashboard and reporting?
We do not, no.
Is that something that is on anyone's radar? Or I guess probably not then, but I would ask that it be on the radar, because there are a number of solutions for, everyone's asked for a dashboard of this and dashboard of that. And before we look for yet another ERP solution, and I know there's 12.5 out there, I would ask that we first look at either identifying someone in-house who has that skill set or wants to explore that skill set, that can use some of the free programs that are available for enterprise, Tableau being the one that everyone knows. Flourish is another great one. There's a dime a dozen that you can drop out there, so that we can begin to build our in-house reporting capabilities before we look at trying to just go to another company and pass it off to them. I'd like to see that being done in-house where possible, because I think we can save a lot of money by having it done that way rather than trying to outsource it. And then finally, I think, again, I'll ask it here because it's kind of falling on you on one way or another. Since every department has allocations associated to it, would you please spend a few minutes helping us understand what specifically from IT is covered by the allocations at every department level?
So from my understanding, it is the software that we have, so the software maintained, and this includes operating systems, the Microsoft licensing. Microsoft licensing has gone up a lot, and it is their cloud product, so we are another thing that we've gone to the cloud for. It includes if they have a Munis product, so we allocate the number of licenses they use within Munis. And then there are other software that IT uses, like network security, that again, that gets allocated to them based on the number of users they have in their department. As well as communication costs. Communication costs are coming down. We're trying to bring them down as we expand fiber and as new contracts come up. We do try to get the lowest pricing possible. That's one of the things that's allocated across the board, or depending on if the department uses one specific internet circuit, like for example, the new internet circuit that we give into TV station, they're taking on the entire cost of that circuit. The other things are personnel costs and then hardware maintenance. So the contracts to renew our servers, renew our networking gear, all of that is allocated across based on the number of users they have within that department.
Okay, so you're basically fractionalizing it out based on number of users in the department as well as licensing per se?
For the most part. Sometimes we try to get it by computers. I'm trying to be as fair as possible, but it is by users is probably one of the best metrics that we can use right now.
All right, thanks.
Commissioner Harriet?
One last question. I just glanced over was on the organizational chart. We've got down that finance requested software maintenance and contract specialist. Is that something that your department needs, or is that something that would be better suited in finance so that they could oversee all the contracts?
I think they're
So we could-
using they place it in our department just based on the idea that it's IT software, and they think that we might have a better chance of understanding the contracting language in each software product, which we do because we go through the contracts for the software products and understand the requirements for each application. But again, it's something that I think every department themselves has a shared IT responsibility, so that it might be. It depends on how we.
And this directed towards the city manager and trying not to get too much in the weeds, but I think we need to focus on centralizing contract management and centralizing procurement so that they can play a larger role in it, but bringing it back so it's centralized versus spreading it out into the departments. And then also the data visualization, I think that's a phenomenal thing to bring up. Not just for dashboards for us, but also for residents. There's a lot of opportunity to present things along with the GIS applications on our website so that residents can go in and see what projects are being worked on and what things they impact and what budgets are allocated to them and what's been spent versus what's been budgeted and all that kind of stuff. So I think that'd be a huge improvement for the city.
Commissioner McCool?
Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing the magic letters GIS up, because I talked about this last year, I talked about it just recently, and talked about software that empowers residents also as far as GIS goes, and where it's simple collection of pins to drop with municipal issues. And I'm just putting it out here, short elevator speech, but people love interactivity, they love being able to report, they love seeing visual solutions for problems. And in the city, we have at any given time code issues where someone would like to report something going on, or maybe garbage cans are turned over in a neighborhood. Maybe there is speeding issues in an area. Maybe there are unsafe roads in an issue. All that can be reported and reported back to departments by an interactive pin being dropped. And we do have that capability, I know, with GIS. So wherever it is appropriate, please know I've been asking about this now, I think for 2 years actually, regarding interactivity with the public. Going on the software, dropping a pin, with each pin being color-coded for an issue for a department to be able to see that there is a concern and then follow-up. I know that we have the software capabilities.
Yeah, we currently have a software package called My311, which is just exactly what you described. And it's on the website right now. People can geolocate a pin and drop anything they want that we program in there. So, and then it'll be routed to the appropriate department.
So, and we need to do a better job of effectively marketing that,
Yes,
because the more people feel empowered, and I don't know who that is, through the city manager, through PIO, but as we're moving through the process, I am doing that for informative purposes, because people really do want to report in their neighborhoods. They want that feedback, and sometimes they, because they don't understand what process is, they come directly to their commissioners, right, with concerns. So I think that if we can help educate on the capabilities of that platform also, it would be most helpful for our residents. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Robert. We're going to go ahead and move over to City Attorney. And I understand we have City Manager, I don't know what you want to do on this, because obviously we have some issues that I think we absolutely need to address, like making sure we don't go over the allocated budget from the previous year, and putting safeties in place when we do find a new city attorney to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future. But I don't know why we would. I'll leave it up to you. I mean,
Well, we can, Marcia could say a few words if she wanted to, or we could just skip through this. Like tonight's just kind of general presentations. And this was all composed over the last couple of weeks. So we can, I mean, it's up, just skip it tonight.
I can just say, I had originally, before the most recent events, I had given, and I copied Julia today on a memorandum and doc, and I have copies to pass out to all of you with regards to memos that I had done with regards to my budget and all of that good stuff. But basically, I had told Finance that I thought we needed another part-time position. In my workload was getting greater and greater, and you all are facing a tremendous amount of land development code and ordinance writing coming up as you work through the land development code and the comp plan, and that is all, pretty strenuous legal drafting that will need to go on. So, I don't know if you're going to hire one person or a firm or however you're going to do it, but I do think that it is more than one lawyer alone can handle. And I have struggled with that. So I will say that, and Doc is copied on my numbers with regards to that, the possibilities of a part-time and then my position, and that's really all that I would offer.
So before I go to Vice Mayor Jody Lee, could we make sure we all get copies and the public does as well, just for full transparency also? And I'm just going to give my piece and then I'll pass it on, but I believe that should be a topic of conversation from when we're doing a workshop to find a new city attorney. I don't think we need to be budgeting for something that we don't know what we're going to get, because if we end up with a firm, it could be very different. I think we have a bad habit of putting the cart before the horse. We have a new city manager. We're looking for a new city attorney. Let's do everything the right way. We'll have a workshop, in my opinion, specifically for the attorney situation, and we can move forward like that, and then leave some space in there, Doc. I trust your judgment on what you think we're going to be facing for a new city attorney firm, whatever it is that we go to. But to start talking about hiring an additional attorney, or whether Ms. George Siegel is going to do part-time or not, I believe you gave your resignation. We accepted it, and I want nothing but the best for you, but we need to move on. So Vice Mayor Jody Lee, then Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you, Mayor. And on that note about this letter that was given today, discussed with our new city manager, I hope that our new city manager finds out, because seeing it just got brought up to us by the attorney right now. As you know, it's that same letter she wrote you and only sent to one or two people in the city. It's already on Facebook before this meeting. So I hope you get to the bottom of it, and whatever employee is giving out information before it even gets discussed with anybody, I hope you handle that accordingly.
Commissioner Harriet, then Commissioner McCool.
I'm going to leave that specific topical in, echo everything that was said. But I think it would be appropriate to make sure that the personnel request in here covers the other paralegal in that office, and then we table the rest of this conversation until we can find an appropriate plan. I do think that the new plan should include a city attorney and an assistant city attorney. It should be a little bit more robust than the current shop. I'm not sure that the current workload of 70 hours a week or 80 hours a week, however much it is sustainable. I don't know that any one person can maintain that for X number of weeks, but I think we do need to come back to this after we come up with a plan, which needs to be sooner than later, because Marshall will be here till September, and I think if we can get a workshop in the next week or two, then we can minimize the gap.
Thank you, Commissioner Harriet. Commissioner McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to re-express strongly the sentiments of our vice mayor as far as it being a leaky ship, because there's information that has gotten into the hands of people that, wasn't quite ready for public consumption. And it wasn't the thing about hiding information from the public. It is avoiding half half-truths and misinformation out of the purview of people that like being sensational and provocateurs more than anything else, and it's irresponsible reporting. I'm sure I could go into depth about stuff that's been leaked even in the last 2 weeks that didn't come before the commission first, and I would like to see that really strongly discouraged and talked about. We also need to do a better job of actually feeding public information that we're ready for them to have and not sitting on it, because this is what happens when people get starved for information like this. They're going to take any ship in a storm, and we do not want that anymore. It's been messy and it's horrible. So again, I strongly agree with Commissioner Harriet and the mayor that that needs to be addressed and stopped. It's irresponsible, and we need to do a better job of getting the actual information to the public and doing a good job of answering requests so that they're not forced to create a narrative. Thank you.
Yeah, and before I go to Commissioner Shimkus, I'm going to agree. Sometimes it's a little disheartening when I have to find out from a screenshot that people might send me from a social media post, or in today's case, the vice mayor knew before I knew about this. And I think we all need to know at the same time. None of us up here, that goes for me too. I shouldn't know before the other commissioners know, right? I think it's a little disheartening, and at the same time that we know, unless it's under litigation, the public should know as well. This right here, respectfully, and I'm not trying to pick on anyone, is completely unacceptable. This should have been sent to all of us at the same time as well as the public. These surprise things, just like the resignation letter the other day, same thing. Let's not play these games. Commissioner Shimkus?
On a completely different topic, kind of. I just want to ask, since we're talking about the city attorney's office budget, the paralegal that we have, why is that not included in this specific budget? Why is there no personnel? If we have a paralegal, what department would that be under then?
City manager.
City manager.
Oh, okay. Is there a reason why that's not under legal, or just, okay.
She works for both generally, but I believe she falls under city manager majority of the,
all right, thanks.
so as a city employee. Yes.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to kind of centralize things and put them in a more appropriate place, and I think it would be most appropriate to make sure that all legal services come out of the city attorney's budget and should all be budgeted appropriately there. So if we've got legal services budgeted in department budgets, I think we absolutely need to move those into the city attorney's budget, and then do internal service charges or allocate them, back to the end user. But I think it's hard, and I'm sure it's going to come up tonight some more, and tomorrow and the next day, that we have budgets spread across the board for the same damn thing. And it is absolutely infuriating trying to go through this and see, oh, we've got budgets over here for this, and we've got budgets over here for this. It is incredibly frustrating. So I want to make sure that we put an emphasis on grouping like things in the correct place, and then we can allocate them back to the departments that use them.
Commissioner McCool?
Thank you. And here's the thing, too, is in assuring that if our paralegal moves over, the allocation moves over, I just want to make sure that I need to understand who is over the paralegal. If the paralegal is moved to legal.
City attorney should be.
Well, the city attorney is a charter officer too, so. Oh, but how's that work if you move?
Just as a correction, if you go with an outside law firm, then paralegal would have to be under city manager as a city employee, so.
I can understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll figure it
fear
out, but
just,
points taken about grouping like items, yes.
just for clarification, is the fear that Ms. James would probably let go by the law firm? I mean, we can put a clause in there that doesn't happen. She's extremely effective for the city.
It can still be budgeted under the city attorney's budget. It just would be whoever she reports to. The budget should still stay under, it's still a legal service. And so if we want to look at where the budgets are for legal services, They should all be in
One place.
one place.
Yeah.
But as far as who she reports to would definitely be appropriate. If we've got an outside law firm under contract, then it would make sense for her to report to city manager.
Got it.
But I'm speaking strictly budgets. So
I just want to get that clarified because I think that's
Yeah.
what maybe the fear could be.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and move over. If no other commissioner has any more questions for city attorney, let's move to human resource under the understanding. And I don't know if that needs to be consensus for a workshop on a city attorney situation as fast as we possibly can, please.
You can just click on it.
We're going to go ahead and move to human resources.
Oh, wait, test it.
Good evening. Okay,
one
stay
click.
here. Just one click.
Yep.
Perfect. I got to go back then.
You can scroll up. Okay, there you go.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, human resources. Looking at department functions, we are responsible for talent acquisition and selection, human resources compliance with employment laws, performance management, HRIS management, comp and benefits, human resources planning, workforce strategy for what we plan to do within the city and employees, employee recognition programs, and labor relations administration as it reflects the fire department. Okay. We're also responsible for risk management, workers' compensation, policies and procedures, FMLA, training and development, employee relations and investigations, and the internship program. I get this right. Accomplishments. When I started, I was able to assess the department, the structure, the employees, and their overall level of experience. So I put in a plan to restructure job responsibilities and upgraded the team with professional expertise. There were a number of positions there with clerical expertise, and we were unable to dig out of the things that we needed to get done from an employment standpoint. We are also now compliant with employment laws, but that's continuing to be a work in progress. I hired 2 recruiters because there were no recruiters in the human resources department who had the expertise to go out and source and hire the right people who were qualified. We implemented an HR file audit of which we were out of compliance with. And also right now, until we get a program for HRIS in place, we are manually implementing an HRIS system, meaning we're manually putting together turnover numbers, maintaining staffing numbers, et cetera. And we also completed an audit of risk management claims. Okay. Okay, goals for 24-25. We're already in the process of looking at revising HR policies and procedures for the city. That's a major undertaking as policies and procedures are in 5 or 6 different places. So we're trying to work to consolidate everything into one employee procedure manual, as well as an employee handbook. We're also looking at revising pay grades and salary ranges, which are still not where we need to be. We have a 10-1 implementation or re-implementation of the performance review process. That is underway. And we are looking at expanding our hiring resources. We have to have a little more now than just recruiting on our website because some of these positions are very difficult to fill. We are building a security program where we are now responsible for badge implementation, and that's a little out of whack right now because we don't know who has a badge and who needs one. So we're pulling that back together. Looking at leadership training programs and employee morale initiatives. And we're also finalizing a proposal for a new risk management vendor. This chart represents the HR staff. As you would see, I have an HR paralegal there. That paralegal would not report to the attorney's department and will not also have the same duties and responsibilities. That individual will have more responsibilities under the risk management function where they're working with the attorneys to move these processes quickly. And then we have an HR clerk. Okay, and there is the budget, personnel, operating budget, and then the total amount there. Request, you'll see here it says Deputy Human Resources Director. That will not be an added position. It will be more of an internal reclass. And then we'll have the Human Resources Specialist and the Risk Management Paralegal. Any questions?
Before I go to Commissioner McCool, can you just, under professional services, other, maybe I'm not understanding this part, we have a job description updates by consultant, and we're looking at fees of 12.
Job descriptions internally.
Okay.
That we can do. We do not have to go outside to hire a consultant for that. We can handle that internally.
Thank you, Flores. Commissioner McCool, then Commissioner Harriet.
Thank you very much. Ms. Flores, I wanted to ask you, here on the comparison report, there is, and to follow up with what the mayor said, my question was the professional services and OT was a 142% increase, and I just want to make sure that that $257,000, the 2025 proposed, is for meeting those levels. It's not an ongoing capital request, correct?
Right. That's correct. For what did you?
If you look on page 1 of the next year budget comparison report, 2024 revised budget was $106,500, and then proposed 2025 is $257,800 for an increase of 142.1%. So I'm just trying to make sure that is for like a one-time. That's not an ongoing capital expansion
that's not ongoing.
Services.
No, right.
This is just because we are where we are right now,
Exactly.
correct?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yes. Okay.
That is the professional services and OT.
Page 35 on the detailed line item.
Right.
Yeah, on the detailed line, and, yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And you're doing an amazing job, by the way, and I feel very confident in your ability to get us into compliance, where we need to go. I know that you're very detail-oriented, and you and both finance are doing an amazing job of lifting us and reporting, so thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Harriet?
Were you finished?
Yes. Oh,
I've got a couple questions. The first one is the revisions of pay grades and salary ranges.
Is your mic on, Commissioner? Sorry.
Sorry, I'll start from the beginning. A couple questions going to revisions of pay grades and salary ranges. We've got in here under professional services, the rate study. Does that rate study also include a position audit?
a what now? Audit?
A position audit to make sure that the employees that are, the job description matches what the employee is actually doing, and then
Yes,
they're actually.
that's combined, yes.
Okay,
Right.
and so that should correlate also with the pay grade or the job description updates
Yes,
as well?
job descriptions, salary ranges,
Okay.
where people should fall within those ranges.
When do we anticipate getting that those study results
I
back?
think that will start in September. In the past, they used an organization, Archer Studies, and I'm looking to go out to bid for,
Phenomenal.
yes, because what we ended up with is not where we should be.
Absolutely.
Right, yeah.
And
Right.
I just to circle all the way back to the very beginning of all this, when we were talking about millage rates, I have a hard time with reducing the millage rate from what it is. I'm all for going lean, right? But if we don't have good employees, the boat doesn't float.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that we don't
Right.
we don't have employees leaving. We have to make sure that we're paying them appropriately
Exactly.
for the jobs
Right.
that they're doing.
Exactly. And building expectations for
Yeah,
employees.
absolutely.
Without expectations, we can't expect them to produce.
And I very much appreciate that one of the first things that you identified was that we're putting we're removing duplicates, finding duplicate policies, outdated policies
Right.
and putting them all in one place.
Yes,
That is
exactly.
critical to make an employee's job
Yeah.
easy.
Exactly.
Because none of their jobs are easy, but we can
Nope.
try not to put hurdles in front of them.
Exactly.
So, thank you very much. Oh, I did have one other question. The employee reimbursement line went up 80%. Is that indicative that the program's being used widely?
Yes, quite a bit, in particular in the fire department. And their contract this year increased it a little bit. So that's why we added
Do we have
some
any
additional funds.
Do we have any requirements that if the city pays for their reimburses their tuition, that they have to stay for X number of years, months?
Not stay for X number of years, but we do confirm the completion of those classes with the appropriate grades. I mean, you can't take it and fail and
Yeah.
get reimbursed for it. So,
I'd like to kind of address, take a look at that program and maybe we reimburse it for 100%. If you get an A, if you get a B, we'll do it at,
yeah,
90.
I'm used to such a policy.
Something along those lines. And then
Exactly.
to prevent us from being the training ground, I would also like to include a provision that if they don't stay for 2 or 3 years after the fact, that we take it out of their PTO payout or some.
If they don't stay,
we have some mechanism of recouping those funds.
Yeah.
In my last position, it was 1 year. Any class you took in the past year, you had to pay back if you left
Exactly.
within the year.
If we're spending, I don't know what's our average reimbursement for an employee on that?
Maybe 1,600.
That's not too
Depending on the
terrible, but
class they take, it's not.
Without getting in the weeds too much, which we are, but I want to avoid spending $4 or $5 grand on somebody's education and then them leaving after a year.
Right.
If we're going to invest in an employee, I'd like to invest in an
Exactly.
employee that
Right.
invests in the city.
Yeah. Right.
So, thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Shimkus and Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
I'm just going to start with a general thing, and you happen to have said it, but you're not the only one. We keep hearing that's going to be lower, that's not going to be the right number, that's a different number. And I appreciate, that this is a living document, and I understand this is not written in stone from day one, but I'd like to maybe ask that if you are going to give a presentation and you know off the bat that there's 3 or 4 line items that are wildly not what we're seeing tonight, if you can start with that says, hey, you've got a budget for $500,000, we know it's going to be $100,000 less just off the bat. I just want to get that out of the air because I feel like we're having to dig through it and then be told, oh, but that one's not going to be there. So that's a little frustrating. Again, not you specifically, but the internship program you mentioned, there's been talk about an internship and summer work program for students across the city and things. I'm not sure that program is very well advertised. So if that program exists, is that the same program we're talking about?
Yes, and it was very well advertised. We had parents calling in very excited about the program. They knew it was being supported by the mayor of our city. It was very well received.
Excellent.
We
Okay.
could have hired more than the 10 that we have. It's a starting point. Again, it's a work in progress. But we also have to look at budgets. And we were able to absorb the budget amount within the various departments. So It was
Okay.
well received.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard great things about it, and I just want to make sure it's being, well advertised. And if it is such a popular program, especially in the city, that we would look at expanding it,
Right.
if it's
We need
that
to look at
beneficial.
growing our own within the city
Yeah.
of Deltona, so.
And then, probably just a question because I'm an idiot at some of this stuff. Why is your department not in charge of payroll? In my experience, HR is payroll, so I'm just trying to find out why is it
I do not
separate?
have the answer to that, but I can get it for you.
Okay, I'm just curious as what the reasoning is.
She looks at the city manager.
Just light that fuse. And we're working on that right now. We're having that discussion in-house.
Okay, cool.
Thank
Just
you.
curious if there was a reason that I didn't know about.
Yes.
And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee, and then Commissioner Harriet.
Yeah, and I just want to thank you for that. Ms. Flores, don't walk away yet. It's my turn. I want to thank you for getting this whole intern thing going. I think it's a good thing. Myself, I believe the mayor also came down and welcomed all these the younger generation to come working in the city to intern. I think it's a good program. And I also want to give you, I'm not even going to argue about your budget. I just want to commend you on the stuff you're doing about getting professional headhunters to find professional people to come to work here.
Yeah.
So this way we can stop my brother's sister's neighbor needs a job, my sister
Right.
needs a job. Yeah, I'm glad we're starting to get professional people in here that are getting jobs done.
Great.
And I just want to thank you for spearheading it, because I'm sure you've had plenty of emails and phone calls from other employees saying, hey, hire this one, hire that one.
Yes.
I'm glad we're starting to turn the tide on this.
Yes, we are. We're heading in the right direction.
Commissioner Harriet?
Thank you.
One of the other things I didn't see in here, and I hope I didn't miss it in your presentation, but is there a cost of living adjustment that we're doing across the board for employees? With inflation being astronomical levels over the last year or two, I think it's only appropriate that we look at a cost of living adjustment.
We have it across the border in departments directly.
Go ahead. Thank you.
It's in the departments directly.
Is there any way where we can see it, or is it just under their salaries and wages increases?
Under salary and wages.
How can we see what that COLA is by department?
We use 4%.
That's what it is? So
That's what we used. Mhm.
So when HR has salaries and wages going up 31%, is there a way that we can see that separated from the new positions that are being requested?
Sure, yes, we can get that for you.
Okay. I'd like to see a report if we agree that shows the number of FTEs, number of vacancies in each department, and the cost of living, and what's the COLA, and then what is being spent on current employee salaries and wages,
Okay.
excluding new ones.
I hope that we all ask questions, and the questions start there. All the questions we've asked from different department heads, I hope all these questions, when they give back to us, I hope they give us, all of us.
I can see Doc's hand moving diligently as we're all speaking, so I'm guessing we're getting something.
I'm hoping.
Yes, what goes to one goes to all,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, yes.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward to law enforcement, and I don't know who's doing the presentation for that.
I am, Mayor, just a real quick point, next slide. So, just a quick point here, as they put out 51,000 calls throughout the city of Deltona is an awesome number, and looking to get to 73,000 by the end of the fiscal year. So that's a tremendous number of calls across our city. So the biggest issue that the sheriff's office is looking for, of course, it's a contracted service. So the details limited here because it is contracted, but they are in request of at least 4 new deputies, as well as the vehicles that go along with those deputies. I haven't been here long enough to know the history, but statistically, from my experience, they're an increase of 4 for the population that we have, and the increase of our population doesn't seem to be very extravagant by any means. If anything, it may be on the low end, from what I understand, of the number of office deputies we have compared to the community itself. But that is the change to the contract right now, is that general request. 4 new deputies, as well as vehicles, and then any other miscellaneous that would go with those 4 new hires.
Change is only 1.5 million, right?
Excuse me?
1.5 million, okay.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee, then Commissioner McCall.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, it seems like a lot, but it's really not, with 4 new deputies, with equipment, the whole 9 yards, with the amount of new traffic we have, new developments, all of it, you combine it all. I would like, the next time we do this, if we can get, I know Sheriff Chitwood's always busy, and he's doing his own thing now. He'll be here. I'd like to get either Sheriff Chitwood here, or at least Captain Powers. He's in charge of Deltona. You know, I don't know if you've met him yet, but he's an
talked earlier
outstanding
today,
individual.
yes.
I'd like to have one of them here so we can ask. I know we have the CompStat meetings all the time, and they go through the crime rates and everything, but I think I'd like to have him in the hot seat at the podium for a few minutes.
He's never in any hot seat. Commissioner McCool.
Thank you very much. And for full transparency, I met with the sheriff this morning because I had budget questions regarding $1.5 million. It's substantial. In talking with him, there has been a 50% increase in volumes of calls throughout Deltona. Also, there has been a new district created by the Sheriff's Department because of given construction going on, adding 15,000 new residents out at the Cortland, Howland area. And there was concern about that, so there has been a new district drawn by the Sheriff's Office for that. Some of the testing, and you're right, at the next meeting, I know that it was the intent of Sheriff Chitwood or the captain to be here regarding this, and I sat down with both of them and Deputy Chief Henderson this morning, and they wanted to let us know also, bringing to here what they're testing. Deltona is some of their best testing ground for some of the new programs. They bring it here to Deltona. They said that the environment has changed, where it used to be Deltona would be like punishing grounds for a deputy to come. They have deputies that are requesting to be here in Deltona now, and what we're experiencing is mostly property crimes here in Deltona, because I asked about that regarding the necessity for more staff, and that is equal to 4 positions, vehicles, like we talked about, and there were concerns in wanting to increase that personnel because of traffic, which we had another horrible accident last night in the middle of the night here. So they are very aware of that. At current, we do have motorcycle cops here every weekday, and then we have teams working, the shifts here also. And we're talking about human capital here, and Deltona is, we are high in the property crimes, which that is the burglary and stuff like that, followed by domestic crime and then violent crime with the drug issues that they're trying to address here. So the live 911, I think that's talked about in CompStat, but just so that you know, if you're sitting here in the general audience, where now if you call a dispatcher, a sheriff is on a live call at the same time dispatch is, and it's resulted in at least one child being saved that was accidentally shot. They shot themselves. The NVIS is the DNA for firearms now that they have brought, tested out here. They have found weapons that are ballistics, tying guns back to prior used crimes. And then the Raven system has been brought to Deltona too. And the Raven system, it will listen for 2.2 square miles identity of gunshot versus fireworks. It will pinpoint where gunshots are coming from and help with forensically getting to that point. So that's just some of the stuff that we're talking about when we're talking about the increase here. So I know that they will be here at the next meeting. This was also brought up 2 years ago, I believe, when the sheriff became a constitutional officer rather than being employed by the county, and we talked about the funds, that the shortfall and what was going to have to be made up. And I believe that we enjoyed 2 years without that increase, and I know that now this is what they're asking for at minimum to make up, to help keep us in line with what services are that we need here in Deltona. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to move to the next item, which is fire department. All
All right, good evening, everybody. Here to talk about the fire department and their budget. I will say, though, that when my team and I were putting this presentation together, we were trying to be a little comprehensive, and in doing so, we got a little repetitive. So there's a couple slides here that I'm just going to blast through, just kind of more or less skip over, because I'm going to talk about them later in the presentation, and I don't want to, waste your time. So with that being said, our department function here in the city, we are organized into two divisions, the administration division and the operations division, and both of those have their separate budgets, the 221 and 222 budgets. These divisions are responsible for mitigating all natural hazards and man-made emergencies. And our priority for doing that is first, life safety, second is incident stabilization, and then third is to preserve as much property as we possibly can. Our mission in the fire department is to prevent the loss of life and property, pretty much simple. We do that by being innovative or staying in touch with the latest trends and things that are going on in the fire service. We do that by being prepared to safely and effectively mitigate all hazards. That's basically our training. Fire departments are only as good as their training. We prevent the loss of life and property by providing fire prevention. The fires that we can prevent are much better than the fires that we have to respond to. And we do it through life safety education. If we can get the public to help us out, if they're doing CPR before we get there, that helps out tremendously in saving lives. And we do this all while treating the people we serve and our team members as family. And that's really the big difference between good fire departments and great fire departments. Good fire departments are well-trained and they're really good at preventing loss of life or property, but great fire departments go above and beyond that. We want to make sure that our citizens are taken care of. We want to go make sure that, we look out for things like their dignity. And at the end of the day, these people are normally, this is one of the worst days of their lives, if not the worst day. And we want to go above and beyond to make sure that they're taken care of. And I think we do that on a regular basis. Our accomplishments here, so I'm just going to summarize this. So firefighter safety was one of our accomplishments. We did that with our lunar firefighter location devices. Those are attached to our air packs. If a firefighter goes down, we can using the other devices, locate and move in more quickly to help that person. And we increased our firefighter safety by increasing our training really across the board through all our different ranks. We enhance our EMS divisions by adding a third ambulance and improving our response capabilities with transporting patients here in the city. And we have to add an EMS captain's position to help manage that program. New software, we've implemented a records management software that was provided by the county. And we've also implemented our pre-incident planning program, which is a component of a program we already had. So as we were putting that program together, this was one of the final, not the final part, but one of the final parts to utilizing that program completely. We did a promotional testing for our division chief position this year, and we do all of our promotional testing now in-house, which saves us anywhere from about $10,000 to $25,000 a test. And finally, we introduced another theme truck to our fleet with our autism awareness ambulance, so that's completed and on the road. Some of our ongoing accomplishments is we continue to evaluate our EMS response levels by monitoring response levels and modernizing our EMS fleet. And then we also initiated some cancer initiatives here in the fire service. Cancer is the #1 killer of firefighters, and we continue to seek ways to prevent our people from being exposed to carcinogens. And this year we've implemented new policies, implemented new equipment and training, and we, by the end of this budget year, that's why it's ongoing, we should have 4 of our stations equipped with air pack sanitation devices that help completely sanitize our air packs and some of our other equipment that we wear into fires to help keep our people safe. Some of our key goals, this is where I talked about we're going to move through this a little quickly because I'm going to talk about most of this stuff later. So some of our key goals on this page would be to continue to work with our high schools and our state colleges with their EMS and fire programs. The next slide is pretty much all of our capital and our personnel requests. So our goal is to actually, if we get approved for that stuff, to complete those projects. And then this slide here, we're going to continue to work with Volusia County on our many agreements that we have with them. We're going to work to improve our ISO rating, gain accreditation status, which honestly has taken us much longer than I thought. We're going to continue to work to reduce the risk of fire throughout this city through continued inspections and code compliance, and we continue with our community safety. And continue with our community safety and outreach programs like our back to school program and our toy drive and stuff that we do like that. So our long-term goals are basically we want in the next couple of years we want to have a new fire station in place. We need to do something about a fire training facility. We don't have anywhere here in the city where we can do some of our ISO and other trainings that we need to do. We have to actually go about 40 to 45 minutes away over to Deltona or Port Orange or even over into Sanford to be able to do that type of training, and we really need something here that we can do that. I mean, it's getting so built up that we don't even have the spare roads now that we can just go confiscate a road and do some driver training on. We're going to continue to renovate our older stations, and we want to complete that accreditation process and implement the findings from that. We want to continue to monitor and implement our firefighter safety programs, again, cancer, mental health awareness, and physical fitness. Our Opticom program is basically, that's a traffic preemption program that we have in most of our traffic lights here in the city. And as new traffic lights are put up, we want to get that in there so that we can safely navigate those intersections and help improve our travel time to these calls. We want to implement, again, we have another program for inventory in our logistics area, and we're going to continue to implement more and more of that program to be able to get it out. Right now, it's only in our logistics building, and we're wanting to expand that out into the fire stations. This is our organizational chart. We're requesting basically a couple positions in the administration side. It's been about 15 years or more since we've added anybody to our logistics division. In that time, we've added a new fire station, 3 new ambulances, running about 4,000 more calls than we used to run, and they just need some help in that area. We also want to add a second plans examiner and new construction inspector. Our current plans examiner for fire is pretty much overwhelmed and needs some help. So we'd like to get her some help, and this is kind of a twofold thing because she is leaving to retire in December of 25, and there's a wealth of knowledge that's going to walk out of that building if we don't get somebody there that she can train and pass that knowledge on as we move forward. And then we're requesting 6 firefighters. That's in our operations side. That's to put a new ambulance in service. We want to put a 4th ambulance in service here in the city. Our goal, and I think many of the commissioners in the past have had that same goal, that they want to make sure that we take care of our customers here. About 209,000. In personnel, again, some of that is those new positions, and about 14,000 in operating. This is our operations side, our operation budget. That one's up 942,000 in salaries, and again, that's 6 new firefighters. A part of that is 6 new firefighters. And then we're up $1 million in operating, and that has to do with 2 of our fire stations that we want to renovate. A majority of that money is in renovating those 2 fire stations. So in getting into capital requests, we're needing to upgrade and update our station alerting system. The county, they're revamping their entire communications and dispatching system. They're revamping the backbone of the radio system itself, going from what's called an EDAC system to a P25 system, which basically is for the most part, it's just going from analog to digital, and it's also making it a lot more compliant for people. If we're bringing in mutual aid, it's a lot more compatible for those people to be able to talk on our system. Also with that, they are implementing a new computerized dispatch system, which is new software, and that computerized dispatch system needs a alerting system to go along with it to alert the stations, and that's what this is. The county is providing the backbone to the system for all of the stations, so they're providing about $50,000 worth of equipment in each one of our stations for this, but that's just the basics, and this money here will bring us up vehicles that have reached the time that our policy says they should be retired out. Two of them are inspector vehicles, which are basically Ford Escapes, I believe, that we would want to replace, and then we have a 2007 pickup truck that we would like to replace as well. They all meet the replacement policy. We have in here for a new inspector vehicle, so if you approve that, the plans examiner position, then that's also, that person also does new inspections for buildings. So whenever any new construction comes in, they'll do the plans review, and then they go out and do the inspections. So this person needs a F-150 style vehicle so that they can navigate the construction sites. The logistics, if we do approve the logistics position as well, that position would need a truck as well. That position would, basically what it does is it delivers different supplies and medications and stuff, but it also picks up contaminated gear and takes it back to the logistics building to be cleaned and sanitized. 3 ambulances on the streets at a front run, and those are 2021 vehicles or better. But all of our reserve vehicles right now are pretty much past their prime. We have a 2016 vehicle. That vehicle has 200,000 miles on it and 16,000 hours. And then we also have a 2007 and a 2009 vehicle. Those, and it's recommended that an ambulance, you replace an ambulance about every 8 years. So those have really hit their prime, and we need to, if we're going to add a fourth ambulance to our fleet, we're looking to buy 2 ambulances. One would go, well, they both would go front run, and then we move one of our 2021 down to be a reserve vehicle, which would, give us more reliable reserve vehicles. If we decide not to put that 4th vehicle in service, then we would just like to back up and purchase the 1 ambulance. So that'll be up to the commission. Squad engine replacement. Our squad is 15 years old. Basically, our squad's used for our special operations group that does specialized things, and basically is a big toolbox of specialized equipment. And they run in conjunction with our aerial truck right now. And so whenever that truck runs, the aerial goes and the squad goes to those calls. There are times where the truck is in the station and the aerial is out, and if we get a call that needs that squad, we got to go back to the station and pick up the squad and take it, which delays our response. A lot of the area departments now are going to a squad engine concept where you have a squad and an engine as one vehicle. So everywhere it goes with the crew, and you never have that problem of having to go back and get that squad. And it's basically, in a nutshell, it's 2 vehicles in one. That'll allow us, it's got a ton more. Take one of their military surplus vehicles, convert one of them from a brush truck to a high water vehicle. It's my understanding that there's really only 3 in the county, 2 with the sheriff's department, 1 with city of New Smyrna, and so we think it would be feasible to do that. We are looking to get some new software as well. Our Lexapol policy, it's just two different softwares. One is a policy software to take our policies and get them off the paper and put them on to a software program. This company is really good in the fact that they monitor all new legislation that comes out. So twice a year when new legislation comes out, they review that legislation to what our policies are to make sure we're completely up to date with that. They make those changes. And then what's nice about issues are more prevalent in first responders. We just recently lost one of our firefighters here in the county to mental health, and so it's definitely something that I would hope you would consider. We want to put a couple training pavilions in. These are just training pavilions to provide shade when we're doing training. We're looking to try to put together a fire training complex like I talked about earlier. We really don't have any place to train here in the city, and we need something that we can do our ISO type training and stay up to date. Again, you're only as good as your training. So. And then we're looking to try to add a new fire station. We're doing a study right now to determine the best locations for fire stations here in the city. And we're looking to try to build a fire station here in the future. Unfortunately, we had some stuff in the state budget, but unfortunately that got vetoed. Anyway, it's a fire station / administration building. We are running out of space for administration, so we'd like to encompass some administrative offices into that as well. And then finally, we got one-time operating expenses, so all that was capital. This is one-time operating. We need to replace the roof and gutters on our logistics building that was built in 1964. And then we're looking to do some renovations to a couple of our stations, and the P25 radio upgrades that I told you about a little bit ago. We got some older radios that need to be upgraded to be able to be compliant to work on that system, and that's a one-time expense there as well. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. There's other things when we're talking about the growth at which we're growing, the rate at which we're growing here. These are going to tie in to our level of service. And as a steward of the resources, my taxpayer money, but in ensuring public safety is where it should be, we have to talk about that in the larger picture, the larger conversation when we talk about our strategic planning, when we talk about level of service, because the sheriff's office has had to make another district because of the growth, and we need to address that issue with you also. We need to talk about future transport, right? What are we doing? That's a politically charged thing with the county anytime we try to talk about transport. I simply am not interested in that. I'm interested in taking care of our public. So you have some very grand needs here that need to be addressed and need to be funded and need to be discussed at a depth which I don't think is possible at the tail end of a workshop. So I'm just trying to see between the commission and city manager if it would be advantageous of us to create a workshop specifically for the two that we have here as far as the sheriff's office and fire department. Would that be something that we would get consensus on? This is an overview. This was a lengthy overview, but this stuff warrants more investigation because we need to support both our taxpayer, our residents, right, with concerns like a huge budget, and we need to talk about these things as they relate to our growth and how we're growing. Is that possible that I ask for that, Mr. City Manager? Is that something that we could?
Up to the commission, absolutely.
Well, I'm saying, does that sound feasible for the amount that we're talking about?
Correct.
For public safety? I think that it warrants a deeper discussion than what we're able to have here so that the public, its public safety can be involved also. Would the commission be open to that consensus?
I've got some quick thoughts, and then, but there's a few studies that we still have out. Right, we've still got not just studies, but the accreditation hasn't been
Yeah,
completed yet, so we won't have those findings.
Yeah, we've completed 2 parts of it.
Yeah.
But it,
There isn't there, how many parts is there, 4 or 5?
there's 3 major components to it. Right now, we're starting to work on the fire department self-assessment
Okay.
portion of it. We've done a standard of cover and a strategic plan.
And when do we anticipate, I mean, I know you made a comment about it taking longer than we initially anticipated, and accreditation is an extremely thorough task that an outside agency does. So do we anticipate having that in the next couple of weeks, or are we looking at like a few months?
Probably more like a year or so.
Okay,
I mean,
so
it's
that and then the
It's a real
study.
comprehensive process that we've just barely scratched the surface on.
And then we've got the study that is identifying, I'm guessing, response times and where locations should be based off of response times?
Yes, and it's a study to locate the best possible locations
Yeah.
for up to 3 stations, 3 new stations, as well as.
Do we have a time
to
frame on
look at-
when that should be coming?
That should be done in the next couple months.
Okay.
And, but it also looks at not only new stations, but in lieu of a new station, if we put another engine, a second engine in a current station, would that work as well? And that way we don't have to build the infrastructure for a new station. So they're kind of looking at that whole concept of things. But our travel times are up, and
There's a lot of information. The point that I'm trying to get to is that there's a lot of information that we don't have yet that the fire department is working on. And I don't know how deep we can dive into a lot of this without actually having that data. And that's kind of what, to your point on a workshop,
And
I agree with you 1,000,000%. We 100% need a workshop on this. There is a lot in here to unpack. This was a very thorough presentation, and I give you accolades on that. But there's a lot to unpack here.
Right, because I want to make sure that we are served. The chief is telling us that this is what he needs. I believe the chief. He's been doing this for a while, that the needs are. I know for a fact that we're growing, that we have growth that is going unanswered, and they're doing the best they can with what they have, and we need to give them more. What that is, I understand what the chief is saying, right, but we have, and there's no buts, we also have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we're giving them what they need, right? And these are numbers that we need also. So, Chief, I want you to feel supported in the fact, I know that we need this stuff. I have been looking at this for the last year. I know that, and I want to be able to support you. And I just want us to be able to dive in and be able to say, you know, this is X, this is Y, this is Z. So if it's the will of the commission, if not, I mean, we have what we have, but I believe the chief's report and what he's talking about, and I just want us to make sure that with the other growth that we're experiencing, that he's getting everything that they need to support us, along with the sheriff's office.
I'll tell you, I think, at least from my perspective on this side, I'll tell you, I feel very confident in what's been presented. So until additional data is available, I'm not sure that there's much more that would change my opinion on things.
Commissioner McCool, did you want to finish up? Because you're.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. That's my point exactly, is that I absolutely believe what he's saying, what we need. I want to make sure that we don't need more than what he is stating based on the numbers that I'm hearing from Sheriff's Office, from Growth and Development, right? That he's not being too quiet about his request. That's my point, you know?
I think his request is very conservative, actually. I think the residents of Deltona deserve a lot more than previous commissions have funded. Do you mind if I go through my list, Mayor?
Sure, go ahead, and then we'll go to Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate that as well.
Comes with the territory of being Vice Mayor. We go last.
So there were quite a few things in your presentation that stuck out to me. Excuse me while I flip through pages because I put notes on a lot of things. That I wanted to make sure that converting the brush truck, is that really going to give us what we need? Because I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the forwarding capability on a converted F550 or whatever F-Series pickup truck is really isn't that great. It's what, 18, 20 inches?
Yeah, the brush trucks that we have are
military
surplus military vehicles, so they're, what are they, 5 tons? 5 tons.
Okay, so
Dual axle, dual rear axle, 5-ton trucks, they sit up fairly high.
I'd like to look at the Acela trucks. Agencies around us a lot of agencies around us have invested in the Acela trucks. They're really they're not much more than what we're talking about budgeting, and they're the envy of everybody that doesn't have them. They've got extreme capacity, water forwarding capabilities of 50-something inches. I think that it would be just diligent of us to.
Similar to the ones in Seminole County?
Yes, sir.
About? Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Just making sure.
And then the 2 training pavilions that you have in here, where would those be built at? What location?
Right now, we're looking, we have some property on Day Road that we're using for training, and then, so at least one of them would go there, if not both. If we only put the one there, we put the second one behind Station 63, where we've got some area back there that we're looking at doing some water training on that big lake back there.
And then on one of your slides, the long-term goals, you've got completion of a 6th fire station, but I believe that farther down you mentioned the need for 2 fire stations. This is another point where I think that we've been selling the residents of Deltona short on the need for fire stations. Chief, what do you know about what our response times are? Average response times across the city? If I remember correctly from a handout that we got a few months back, it was somewhere above 10 minutes. 11?
Previous year. So previous year, January to December, taking numbers out of our new records management program, which I'll say is okay, but not the best. So we're still looking to try to pull CAD data.
Do you have reservations with the numbers that you're telling us?
I'm sorry?
Do you have reservations about the accuracy of the numbers you're telling us? They may be significant, they may be.
Well, so what I'm concerned about is the fact that we can't differentiate between emergency and non-emergency calls.
Understand.
With this. Other than that, I think the data is fairly good, with that one exception. And that being the case, so when you talk about response times, it's broken down into several categories. You have your call processing time, the time that the person calls and the dispatcher takes the information and then dispatches the fire department. You got your turnout time, which is the time it takes the firefighters to get the call, get to the truck, start rolling. And then you got your travel time, which is the time it takes from the time the wheels start rolling until it arrives on scene. That's the total response time. And
for the total response time, what are average?
Total response time right now is looking at in the ballpark of about 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 34 seconds. Total response time based on this.
Do you know what the NFPA standard is?
So the NFPA standard breaks it down into those categories. So travel time is, it's about 6
minutes total.
It's about 6 minutes and total when you average them all up. It's about 6 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yep.
Ish.
We need to address that. And I think that needs to be a priority for this commission during this budget cycle, is to set aside funding so that we can make sure that we can address that response time. With all the development, to Commissioner McCool's point, with all the development that we have had in the last 10 years and all of the future development that we have on the chalkboard, if we don't address it now, it's going to get worse fast.
I'm sorry, I need to correct myself too. This does not include the call processing time, which could be up to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
To add to that. So
there's your 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Double what the standard is. So all that to say that I think this is a very conservative request from the fire department. there are some things like the fire training center. I think that is truly a long-term goal that we should be discussing with the sheriff's office, with surrounding communities, to see if that's something we could, put together a regional venture that benefits, that we can earn some revenue off of, is what I'm trying to get at. And then I believe,
And those numbers are at the 90th percentile, not, those aren't average, those are at the 90th.
okay.
So in other words, 90% of the calls or better we make in that time frame, where people used to go by
It
average.
gets even worse.
Yeah.
It gets even worse. There were a couple times where you had mentioned that we didn't have, we had staffing issues in terms of backfill. If we have a rescue that's out on a transport, that we don't have the backfill to backfill a rescue or a transport unit. And then also some staffing issues to, when you
Commissioner
mentioned.
Harriet, can I just get 1 quick minute? We need to do a motion to extend the meeting.
Motion to extend the meeting.
30 minutes?
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
We'll call it quits for the night.
Okay, there's a motion to extend the meeting for 15 minutes. Is there a second?
Yes.
I'm
Second by
close to the end.
All right. So just a quick yes, if everybody is okay with it?
Yes.
All right.
The training, the new fire station that you've got in here says 650,000. Is that a typo? Is that supposed to be 6.5 million? Or
No,
is
that's
that-
for the first year to do design, architectural design draws, that kind of stuff, to design the station, get it ready to go, and then the following year would be the bulk of the
Not just for the fire department, but for all departments. I'd like to see capital that's presented this way. I'd like to see the total cost of the facility, whether it be a station or whether it be something else. I'd like to see the total cost for that piece of capital, and then we can see what the upfront cost would be. Because when we budget a new fire station, we're not budgeting it 650,000 this year, and then next year we'll budget some more. We're budgeting the entire amount. So I would just like to see that. And then for the staffing issue, what I was getting at was, have we looked at SAFER grants for the federal government to assist with paying for staffing? There's a component where we have to maintain that staffing after the grant runs out, but as we can see, we have a need for additional staffing, so.
Yeah, we have not looked into that as of yet. I don't have the expertise in the grant writing area.
Yeah.
So we haven't looked at that, but it would be absolutely, if we implemented a new fire station, that'd be at least 9 to 12 new firefighters, depending on how you wanted to do it. And you could absolutely apply for that grant for that particular program.
Some other things I'd like to look at increased staffing for would be moving increased staffing on engines from 3 to 4. Making sure that we have enough to staff an aerial and a squad at the same time. That way you're not running back and forth. My understanding is that that's a staffing issue. You don't have a driver for one.
Well, so our minimum staffing for all our suppression apparatus, including our tower, is 3 people.
Yeah.
If a medical call comes in, those 3 people will jump on the tower and they'll go to that medical call. Or if there's training going on that doesn't include needing the squad, especially if they got to travel anywhere, they will, all 3 of them will jump on the tower and go.
Again, lack of staffing.
It's, in the station itself, if a call comes out and they need that squad, then 1 will jump on the squad and the 2 will take the tower.
Okay. And then the last question I've got is just the fire training complex. That I think that would definitely be advantageous for us to reach out to our partners in the region, reach out to the sheriff's office and see if we can't do some sort of regional training center, and then kind of address it there as a long-term goal. But I am interested in hearing what the $500,000 would get us that you have listed down.
Again, it's design, architectural design. It's really, so for the fire training center, we've kind of been all over the place with this. Going back to when Cooper was here, city manager, he kind of pushed us towards Sharon Day Road with the water department who had it at that time. When Peters came in, he bought some land out there off of 415 by the water plant that they were going to build a decent fire complex, and they were going to use a P3 company to pay for it over time. Then when Chisholm came in, he didn't like that idea. He didn't believe the property out there was had the infrastructure to be able to do that. So then we backed up and we got the Day Road property in general. So at $500,000, I'd like to work with the city manager and decide, do we want to look at some property that will really do what we need to do for a real training center? Because Day Road's only 3 acres, and that's, you can't even do any driving on that. So ideally, we'd like to try to find some property that may be 10, 12 acres or something like that, and use that money to go towards that property. If that's not the case, and it's the decision that we're going to just do Day Road property, then we'd look at the design and architecture work to start building the stuff that we can on that property.
Maybe we can get an extra half acre for the, put a pound out there with it.
Vice Mayor Jody Lee.
Thank you, Chief. You guys are doing a phenomenal job, and the whole department is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I agree with both commissioners about what they're saying. The response times, we need to work on them. With our population, everybody's been talking about it for years. We keep building and building and building. All the emergency services are just going to keep going up. It's just a common sense thing. I agree with Commissioner Rod about having 4 people man a vehicle, because I understand if the county needs a medic at the time and ours is available, they'll take ours. But if we get a call, now we're short one guy for transport, so now we can't use our own equipment.
Yeah.
So I get all them problems, and adding another ambulance it's anybody can go complain about it. It's going to cost too much money. It's going to cost this and that, and you're going to complain about it all day long until you have to make that phone call and need them to come to your house, and then you're glad they're there. So it's just one of them things, along with all the other emergency services in our city that we need. We keep growing and growing and building. It's coming. Everybody's warned about it for years. If we keep building, emergency service is going to keep going up. So I agree. Thank you for your presentation. I liked everything in there, and I agree with both the fellow commissioners, absolutely with both of them, about the fire department. I support you. I'll do whatever I can for emergency services, like with the sheriff's department or fire department. So thank you.
And if Commissioner McCool wants a workshop, then.
So if I can, just a couple of things. If the city manager, if we can look into, one of the reasons our fire station project was vetoed was because this year, all of a sudden, water projects and fire station stuff like that are in a brand new grant program. So if we can figure out how we can go through that process regarding the grant program, so we can get that and get it fast-tracked to see if we can get some funding like we initially thought we were going to get. That would be great. Those are some of the pieces that I think we need before we can have a workshop, I have no issue, but I would love to have those pieces beforehand on that. There's also grants out there, and I think Commissioner Harriet kind of alluded to it. Believe there was, I want to say, was it DeBerry, that they hired some firefighters, and there's a grant program that pays for the first year for those firefighters. Yeah, so we need to look at stuff like that, that way it alleviates the residents a lot, and it helps us with our budgeting process. I also wanted to literally take the time to thank you, because I noticed that overtime went down 42%. Yeah. And it's not just that it went down 42%, while the wages actually went up less than 1%. That's huge. That means that was a big concern when I was coming in. And I remember I had that conversation with you, and I want to take the time to say thank you, because I see that that's been rectified. So that's great. I do have some concerns when we decide to do that workshop. I know not too long ago we talked about a fire truck. We ended up, I think I was the only one that voted against it. The reason for it was because we actually have more need for transports, and that truck would have actually gave us, if I'm not mistaken, 2 ambulances versus 1 fire truck. So if we can, give or take, if we can look at stuff like that, because the percentages of fires that we get are what?
5 to 10%.
Okay, so the
And
majority
structure fires themselves are probably 1 to 2%.
I get it. So the majority are more EMS, EMT. So I want to make sure when we're making these decisions for our residents, we're doing the right decisions, right? So other than that, let's go ahead and go into public comment. That way we give the residents some time. Again, Chief, thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
And
it.
just something to think about on that is about 75 to 80% of what we do is medical, but our most labor-intensive calls are those structure fires. That's where we need all those people to come in.
I got one more question. Chief, on when you guys respond to car accidents like the case was last night, what apparatus respond?
Normally, we will send at least 2, for a call of that magnitude, our initial response is usually 2 engines, a squad, and a battalion chief.
Okay.
And an ambulance.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Let's go ahead and go to public comment. I want to make sure all the residents that are signed up can speak.
Brandy White.
Brandy White, Deltona, 9 departments in 2 hours, and we get 2 minutes. So you know I can't go through any line items, so for any of y'all to sit up there and say you give 2 shits about what we say and how we engage, that's not accurate, or we wouldn't be seeing 2 minutes on that clock right now. Moving on, obviously sections 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. I had some questions, no time to get to that. Section 4 with the clerk, I'd like to know why they are still being forced to be the middleman when we have a supervisor of elections department that every other city goes to, but yet we have to go to our clerk where they just are the middleman to bring this stuff to them. It makes no sense. It's using our resources, including our dollars. So if we can see if there's some type of cost savings for us doing it, are we being given any money towards what we're having to do that they're technically should be doing? That'd be great to look into. I didn't see that brought up. In addition, common increases, what I'm finding, I know everybody's looking at this year's budget, and I would have liked to have seen a 5-year comparison that we've seen in previous budgets, but I'm more concerned at seeing the 22-23 to 23-24 jump. If you notice, we had 0 budget process that year. Everybody was all willy-nilly. We're still finding things that were forgotten in the budget from that year. And so in lieu of that, I even find it more concerning that some of these operating and allocations are 3 times what they were the previous year. Never mind the increase this year, but 3 times just last year, and I don't see any reasoning for some of these increases and where that money went. I'm almost out of time, go figure. In addition, I'd like to see under section 10 for the fire department actual call breakdowns. I think that gives a lot of context, and that will help with what you guys are trying to point out, but without those call breakdowns, it's really irrelevant. And yeah, out of time, look at that.
Tim Blodgett.
I'm usually known for being short and sweet, so I'll try and be short and sweet. I was surprised not to hear anything about EEOC or disability coming out of the personnel budget. I guess that means it doesn't exist here. Next thing is, I brought this up before, and I was not happy. I'm still not happy. I was wondering about the scholarship program that used to be funded by the recycling program. And I examined your spreadsheet on how the children were ranked and found out that at least 6 of the members of the 7 that were appointed by this dais were using the ranking to stack high numbers on their favorites. That sucks. And I was wondering who's responsible for it. Turns out it's part of the commission's budget. So I guess that means you suck. I need it to end. The people need it to end. Our new city manager said that he answers to the people and his staff answers to him. Well, if you don't want that to be a standing joke for the next 10 years, I suggest you take that into consideration. There was also something I didn't mention at the time, which I thought you'd all like, and I got about 30 seconds to explain it. The city of Port Orange advertises our scholarship program to their high school graduates so that they can get it. How could they do that? Well, the word on the street is, all you got to do is homeschool somebody and then use an address. And then you can have the taxpayers of Deltona pay for the students of Port Orange to get our tax money. Put them to bed, end the program, or have them be self-sufficient.
That ends public comment.
All right, city manager comments?
Nothing this evening. We'll see you tomorrow evening.
Meeting's adjourned.